Imagine a nation created by freed American slaves who dreamed of a new beginning, a place where liberty wasn't just a word but a foundation to build on, and now fast forward to 2025 where that same nation, Liberia, stands on the edge of remarkable transformation. Its story is not just about survival, it's about resilience, revolution, and a quiet yet powerful evolution that the world has overlooked for far too long. As the sun rises over Monrovia's skyline, casting long shadows over colonial era, buildings and dusty markets teeming with life, one can feel the heartbeat of a country that has lived through centuries of upheaval, hope, and healing, a country where every brick tells a story, where every child learning English in a crowded classroom is inheriting a legacy of struggle and pride. And yet in the United States, most people know so little about Liberia despite the profound connection that binds the two nations. The very idea of Liberia was born from American ideals, founded by freed slaves who carried with them the values, languages, religions, and dreams of their former homeland, laying the foundations for Africa's first republic in 1847. And while that birth was hopeful, what followed was a turbulent journey marked by inequality, civil war, corruption, and deep societal divides. But today, in 2025, a new Liberia is emerging, one where the ghosts of the past meet the visionaries of the future in a cultural, political, and economic rebirth that is rewriting the country's story from the ground up. Walk through the streets of Painesville or Buchanan and you'll see signs of quiet revolutions. Young entrepreneurs turning smartphones into banking tools, farmers using satellite weather data to time their harvests, women launching co-ops that bring financial independence and dignity to thousands, and artists painting their hopes across bullet-scarred walls with every stroke demanding that the world finally pay attention. And yet the question still remains: why? Should Americans care about what's happening in a small West African country thousands of miles away? The answer lies in history and humanity. Liberia was America's child, birthed from the pain of slavery and the dream of freedom, and like any child raised by fractured parents, it has struggled to define itself, to rise, to heal, and now, it offers a mirror in which the United States can see the reflection of its own moral legacy, both the good and the flawed. Consider this: Liberia's national language is English, its currency is pegged to the US dollar, its flag resembles that of America, and its capital, Monrovia, is named after US President James Monroe. But more importantly, Liberia represents the endurance of democratic ideals under unimaginable pressure, for while America grapples with political polarization, Liberia is learning to navigate democracy after decades of autocracy and bloodshed. And in 2025, the stakes have never been higher as its citizens prepare for another round of elections that may decide whether peace continues to blossom or whether old wounds reopen. Elections where young people, many of whom were born after the wars ended, are voting not for survival, but for progress, voting for leaders who promise access to clean water, internet connectivity, quality healthcare, and better education in a nation where nearly 70% of the population is under 25 years old. You'll find stories here that challenge what you think you know about Africa. This isn't just a country trapped in poverty or history. This is a place of ideas, of ambition, where youth-run radio stations tackle corruption live on air, where hip-hop artists and poets redefine patriotism in both English and Capel, where tech developers pitch startups in co-working spaces just blocks from crumbling colonial mansions, and where faith-based communities, Christian and Muslim alike, unite to rebuild homes, schools, and futures together, defying the sectarianism that plagues so many other regions. And what makes it all the more astonishing is that this rebirth is taking place not with massive wealth or external interference, but through grassroots movements, diaspora remittances, and the tireless grit of ordinary citizens who refuse to let their nation's narrative be defined by conflict or tragedy any longer. Dig deeper into Liberia's political scene and you'll see a fascinating dance between old and new, a tension between the legacy of Americo Liberian dominance and the rise of indigenous voices demanding equity, a parliament slowly becoming more inclusive, and female politicians who are pushing boundaries once considered immovable, following in the footsteps of Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, Africa's first elected female head of state. And beyond politics, Liberia's natural wealth, its rainforests, iron ore, rubber plantations, and potential offshore oil fields, present both an opportunity and a dilemma: how to develop without exploitation, how to grow without losing the soul. of the land, how to partner with foreign investors while protecting national interests. This struggle plays out in boardrooms, in classrooms, and in the rural villages where traditional chiefs sit in council beside young NGO workers armed with laptops and dreams, trying to craft policies that respect heritage while embracing change. And in this mix lies a larger question for the world. Can Liberia, once broken, now show the path forward for sustainable, inclusive development rooted in justice and driven by the people themselves? And this is where you come in, because by understanding Liberia's journey, by listening to its voices, you don't just gain knowledge, you become part of a wider awakening, a moment in which global citizens recognize their shared destinies, because climate change doesn't respect borders, because migration is shaped by economics and conflict, because the seeds of peace planted in Liberia today could prevent the need for costly interventions tomorrow, and because, quite simply, stories like Liberia's remind us that freedom is fragile, that democracy is a choice made every day, and that people everywhere want the same things: dignity, opportunity, and hope. Now, step into the markets of Gonta where traders haggle over cassava and sell phone top-ups. Watch the fishermen in Harper pulling nets from the Atlantic as they chant in Grebo and English. Sit with the midwives in Bong County who deliver babies by flashlight yet never stop smiling. Listen to the teachers in Lofa who walk for hours to reach village schools with no chalkboards, and hear from the activists in Monrovia demanding internet access be recognized as a human right. Each voice, each action, each dream builds the Liberia of 2025, a nation defying odds, defying silence, and demanding that its story be seen, heard, and understood. So if you've made it this far in the video, know this: you are not just a viewer, you are a witness to something extraordinary. A rebirth that deserves to be chronicled, supported, and celebrated, because the story of Liberia is not only African history, it is American legacy, global testimony, and human triumph, and the next chapter is being written right now in the laughter of school children, in the ballots cast by first-time voters, in the songs echoing across crowded buses and quiet churches, and in the hands of people building bridges, literal and metaphorical, across divides that once seemed insurmountable. Don't look away, because what's happening in Liberia is not just important, it's essential, and if you miss this story, you miss the rare chance to see a nation rediscover its soul, and perhaps in doing so,